I was 16. Don't even remember what month it was, but I know this was sometime during the summer. My parents were gone for the weekend, so I was spending the 2 days alone doing whatever. Mostly cycling between watching YouTube, gaming, and grabbing snacks from the kitchen. So I was in my room upstairs 99% of the time, with headphones on. I think being a teen, it was nice to just sit in my room and do whatever I wanted without being bothered. At some point while I was gaming though, I started hearing voices. At first, I thought a video had started playing in the background, but when I checked YouTube, everything was paused. So then I took my headphones off, and that's when I noticed the voices were coming from outside. I had my bedroom window slightly cracked open, so I could hear just the muffled sound of someone speaking. It was raining outside too, which made it more difficult. They had to be close though, like near the outside walls of the house. Couldn't tell what they were saying, or if they were talking to someone else. I only heard what sounded like one voice. By the time I had gotten up from my chair and walked over to the window to get a closer listen, they had stopped talking. I decided to head downstairs and try looking out some of the other windows to see if they were still around, because honestly, someone walking that close to the house at 8 p.m. was pretty weird. Seemed like whoever it was gone already though, because I couldn't see any sign of them when I got downstairs. I took the opportunity to grab a bag of chips from the kitchen, then headed back up to my room. Must have been up there gaming for an hour, but it went by really fast. I was in the middle of a round, and suddenly heard a voice from outside my headset. Even mid-game and with the headphones on, the voice was much more clear than what I was hearing earlier. Not necessarily louder, but far less muffled, and I could have sworn I knew what he said. I quickly took off my headset and listened. The house was quiet and creaky as I waited for 15 seconds before I heard the voice again.
Luke!
The man called my nickname. My full name was Lucas, but I always went by Luke with my buddies, and that's what he was calling out. I didn't recognize this man's voice though, and more importantly, I was almost positive his voice was coming from below me, like inside the house below me. I quietly laid my headset on the desk, got up and walked up to the bedroom door. I did my best to open it very quietly, not to let it creak or make any noise. Just when I opened it, he yelled my name again. Though yelled isn't the right word. He was calling it out, but almost softly. It was like when you call out someone's name just to ask them something. Very calm and friendly. In the context of whoever this man was breaking into my home, it only added to how disturbing the whole thing was. His voice had this gravelly sound to it. Sounded like he had to be mid-50s with a life full of smoking. As he said my name again, I was able to confirm that he was definitely inside the house, and probably right around the bottom of the staircase. I backed up and left the door open, scared to close it and make noise, with him being so close. I then went to the back window and pushed it further open, then carefully stepped out onto the roof and closed it as much as I could without letting it latch shut. It wasn't a full roof. It was actually the overhang to the front porch, and it just happened to be right outside my window, making a kind of 3 or 4 foot wide sloped ledge that I could stand or sit on. Definitely not the safest, especially being wet and slippery from the rain. but I didn't have much of a choice, unless I wanted to hide in the bedroom and probably get found before cops could make it. And that's when I realized I f***ed up. I left my phone on my desk. I was too worried about getting out to even think about it. I moved back toward the window and prepared to go back in and get it. But just as I peered into the room, I saw a shadow through the doorway coming down the hall outside my room. I quickly moved back out of sight. My heart was pounding. Few seconds later, I heard some things shuffling around in my room, and then the man call my name again.
Luke.
That creepy, soft tone. I peered over just a little bit so I could partially see the room. All I saw was his shadow on the wall, moving around and looking at my desk, probably seeing I had a game opened, and was in the process of figuring out I had to be somewhere nearby still. I really wanted to look around a little further to get a glimpse of who he was, but I couldn't risk getting caught. I started getting that sixth sense gut feeling that I was about to be found out, so I acted fast, moving to the farthest point of the ledge. Under me was nothing but a small bush and some grass. It was maybe an 8 to 10 foot drop. I sort of dangled off first, then let go, hitting my legs on the ground and falling back. It was painful, but didn't break anything. I got up and ran for the nearest neighbor. Honestly, I don't know how others in these stories I listen to do it, because in my case, I couldn't get anyone to answer the door and help me. I mean, it was the middle of the night, and they probably thought I was some lunatic trying to get them to open the door and let me in. It still ended up working though, because one of the houses called the police on me for banging on their door, which I was then able to explain to the officer my situation. I had no way to know how long I was out there for. My guess is 20 minutes before the cop came by. The man in my home was gone, but the officer also found the window in my room fully open. The guy had checked out on the ledge at some point after I left. It made my heart sink knowing how close I was. In the following days, my legs swelled up from the jump, but ultimately had no lasting injuries. Crazy to think that decision actually might have saved my life, or prevented whatever sick plans that intruder had in mind. I think it'll always haunt the back of my mind though, knowing I was so close to seeing who the man was, and yet I didn't. Kinda wish I risked it and looked. But it's easy for me to say now, while I'm not actively in a life-threatening situation. As far as me and my family are aware, the guy never came back and never followed up on anything. I'm much older now, so I don't think anything will ever come from it, and hopefully it stays that way.